What's going on, everyone? Nick from Comic Culture here. Time for Nick at Night, my weekly comic book review show. Let's see what I thought about the books from this week. I'm going to go ahead and put my grading scale up. You know how this works. When I introduce a book, I'm going to put the cover of that book on the grading scale so you can see how they all stack up against each other. Let's start with the Marvel books first. We're going to start with Avengers Twilight issue number 1 from Chip Zdarsky. Long anticipated run. I've been really excited to see this book, especially since we've had a lot of hype about the Ultimate Universe coming over. Ultimate Spider-Man was around. That book was amazing. And Twilight seems like it's a new, fresh beginning as well. But it's set in the future, and we are focused on Captain America, Steve Rogers, as an old man in this highly advanced technical world right now. I'm talking like drones everywhere for surveillance purposes. We have a lot of interesting other technology floating around. There's like augmented reality, like headsets that people are wearing, futuristic cars, things like that. This is a Steve Rogers that is pretty much depowered. He's older. He still has a lot of friends in the superhero community, but they are disabled in some way and or deceased because this is a little bit further into the future. Of course, this new landscape, this new world is scary. There's a lot of obvious connections between what's going on today and just different political areas. And so Steve Rogers is in a position now where he feels compelled, feels like he can't just sit back anymore and just watch this kind of, watch this world crumble, right? Watch America fall down. And so he has to do what he has to do to step up and reclaim that throne as Captain America. He's going to ally himself with a bunch of different people, and they're going to start kicking some ass very soon. Amazing artwork in here too. I was loving just the way like the characters look and the coloring and things like that. So this is a gorgeous book from a story perspective and visual perspective. So I think you're going to have a lot of fun with this one. Avengers Twilight from Chip Zdarsky. Man, you got to check this one out. All right, we're going to check out Jackpot issue number 1. I kind of went into this not thinking I'm going to enjoy it, and I was pretty much right. I don't like what's going on with the Mary Jane character and the fact that she is now this superhero, and she's with Paul right now, and she had like some kids in the past and things like that. Now she's got this power set that basically she has these slot machine bangles that she's wearing right now, and they can roll a different combination of results, which gives her a different power set that she then uses to take on whatever threat is in front of her. And it's absolutely ridiculous. I just don't like what's going on in the story at all. I don't like Paul. I don't like her power set. She doesn't need to be a superhero. I'm not exactly sure what the heck's going on in editorial with the writing with this character or anything like that. But I don't understand what's going on, especially since we had Spider-Man or Ultimate Spider-Man the other week from Hickman. There was a family dynamic between Peter and Mary Jane and a history there and a connection, and I feel like that's what we need. We don't need this right here. So maybe those two worlds can collide and they can like swap places, and then we can destroy the Ultimate Universe again. I don't know. The art's fine. There's nothing really special going on here. It's good though, right? I mean, like it's your typical comic book stuff. That's not going to blow you away, but it is going to work. Same with the story. Is it entertaining? Sure, I guess. But at the end of the day, I wanted to check in, see what the heck's going on with Mary Jane and Jackpot issue number 1. And I don't know, guys. What do you think? Let's jump over to DC. We have Superman Lost issue number 10, Christopher Priest, the last issue in this run. I really enjoyed this issue. I like how they took Superman and they did something different with him. They put him in a different universe, essentially. They gave us a really interesting reason why he did that, why he was in a different universe. That made sense to me. There was a few things here and there that bugged me throughout these 10 issues, but most of this stuff I really enjoyed. I liked the manipulation between Lex and Lois. They had their own little battle going on for a while. I liked Superman's mind state. When he comes back, he lost a lot of time. It was only a short amount of time for people on Earth, but because of time dilation, there's this big gap now between him and Lois that they're trying to figure out. They're constantly fighting. She doesn't quite know how to get Clark back into her life, and he has this whole other experience that he's trying to forget and trying to come to the grips that he can't save them, right? And so it's just an interesting thing. I liked it. This issue here, there was a few different twists and turns in this issue that it didn't quite jive with me. I had to read it a couple times for it to just make sense. We were teased that there was some kind of relationship going on with this Green Lantern that he meets in this other galaxy, and they did, but there was a lot of bait and switch kind of things going on, and there was also a relatively unsatisfying conclusion to resolving all of this stuff, right? It's like, how do we mend that gap between Clark and Lois? didn't really buy it, to be honest with you. But, you know, the book's over, and I think overall there was a few good moments in here. I think there was a good premise to the story, but maybe the execution was a little wonky here and there, and it fell a little bit flat for me. But Superman Lost, not a bad read overall, but it's something. Did you guys read it? What'd you guys think? Continuing DC, we have Wonder Woman issue number 5 from Tom King. Now, we are 5 issues in, and we are no closer to understanding who this Amazonian is that was wrecking shop in the very beginning of the story, which caused all this public outcry and the government hunting down the Amazons and Diana stepping up and kind of taking the brunt of all that blame. Where are we with that plot right there? What happened to that? It seems like every issue we're getting piled on with more and more subplot stuff, I suppose. And in this issue right here, Diana is actually having conversations with all the other Wonder Girls and Wonder Women and everything else. And she is facing off with them individually so that they will swear to not get in the way or help Diana in her battle, because she's taking this personally to the powers that be and is trying to resolve it on her own for some reason. So we get this weird plot where she's meeting with all the other, you know, Donna Troy, and she's meeting with Yara and everybody else, and she's doing some kind of feat of strength that the other one specializes in. And so, you know, the whole point is to, again, get them off the table so Diana can take care of business. Meanwhile, the villains are increasing their ranks right now. The government's basically getting in touch with every villain of Wonder Woman, of Diana's, and they're creating this big Legion of Doom in a way, right? And so it's going to be an interesting showdown. Of course, there's some twists and turns at the end that I won't spoil for you. The back matter in this one is great. I love that one. I love seeing Damian. I love seeing John, and I love seeing Trinity teaming up and going on like silly adventures. The dialogue between those characters is awesome. I love that. Even this silly little race right here, I was enjoying every single page. Like, where's this book? This is the book that we need right here. So, yeah, so Wonder Woman, it continues to be a slow burn. Yes, Wonder Woman's amazing. Yes, she's super powerful, and she's iconic and inspirational and someone to look up to and a force to be reckoned with. We get that. Let's get on with the original plot, I think. Wonder Woman issue number 5, what'd you guys think? Sandman Universe, John Constantine, Hellblazer, Dead in America. That's the title right there, issue number 1. I was excited about this book because I like Constantine. I like the idea of him. I like a lot of his collaborations with Swamp Thing and things like that. And when I saw it was a Sandman Universe book, I'm like, oh, great. I can't wait to see where this book goes. Definitely a Sandman Universe book. So if you're into that realm, if you like that kind of a universe, you're going to dig this. Constantine's doing what Constantine does best. He's using a lot of his friends for personal gain. And there's some forces in here who are very attuned to like his shenanigans and kind of hold his feet to the fire a little bit and want to make him keep his promises, right? Like do the things he actually says he's going to do. Right now, he's escaping London with 2 other people. I'll let you read who they are. And they're actually framed for this murder. Were they actually to blame? Yes and no. And so it's a little bit ambiguous. If you read this book a second time, the beginning makes a lot more sense, because in the beginning, they just throw a lot of stuff at you that happened in the past, but they talk through it throughout the book. And it makes more sense in a second read. So I would really recommend doing that. But the artwork in here is incredible as well. Constantine and team are on a journey right now. They actually get to meet the Sandman himself, and he actually has a little quest for him because of some shady stuff that John did to him in the past. And so it's just a cool book. There's a lot of interesting things going on. I like the conversations. The artwork is spooky and creepy. I think it fits the vibe of this book really well, and I'm anxious to see where it goes. This was like a really fun book, and I really enjoyed it the second time I read it too. So definitely check out John Constantine, Hellblazer, Dead in America. If you're into those kinds of books, if you like Sandman, if you like John Constantine, if you like those style books, you're going to dig this one, I think. If not, I'd probably stay away. Let's go to Dark Horse real quick with Usagi Yojimbo, Death and Honor, issue number 2 of 3. So this is a cool book. It's actually set in space. So if you want to see a Usagi book like out of medieval Japan kind of a setting and into space, this is the book for you. It has like a little Star Wars vibe to it. The regime that he's with now, the empire that he's with now, was betrayed by this former guard or whatever, and so the enemy has now infiltrated the base, killed a lot of the key people. Usagi has taken the prince, and they are on the run right now, trying to team up with whatever allies they have left in the galaxy, and we actually meet up with this other clan who coincidentally has a princess that everyone seems to be interested in right now, and they are trying to get their ranks together and take on whatever local threats they have, and presumably they're going to, team back up and take take back their land. So it's just like any other Usagi book, though it does have a little bit of a different vibe or aesthetic just because it's in space and you get to see like spaceships flying around and, you know, battles and things like that. So it is pretty cool. We're not walking around just hitting each other with samurai swords. We are doing some Star Wars kind of stuff. So it's an interesting setting to be in right now. Of course, we see a lot of the enemy in here too that have taken over the Empire. And yeah, just some interesting twists and turns happening here. So if you're a Usagi fan, man, Usagi in space, what could you ask for, man? Yep. So we have issue number 2 of 3. Check it out. All right, let's go over to Image Comics. We have Kill Your Darlings issue number 5. Now, I really like this issue because it actually takes us back to the origin of this girl's mom and even perhaps the evil that is lurking in this land, which is to blame for all this craziness that's going on. Now, if you remember in issue number 1, the main character we have right here, her mom is actually a single mother. She's raising her child on her own, and everything is black and white because there's like a depression set in on the story, right? And there's only color when you get to this imagination land that the little girl has. This is actually the origin story of her mom, her discovering that she's pregnant, going through all the emotions of that. She's got like a deadbeat boyfriend at the time who disappears on her, and so she has to go through pregnancy all on her own. And then, of course, the night that she's supposed to give birth, she comes across a boy who was presumably in some kind of a car accident, but she's literally in labor at the same time and has to continue to the hospital. Later do we find out that this boy is actually related, presumably, to the witch that we were talking about in earlier issues, and perhaps there's something going on there, and she's releasing all of her dark magic into the area to seek revenge on whoever did that to her grandson, right? So we got a lot of answers in this issue as to like how this evilness has survived or what this evilness actually is, and I thought it was a really cool issue. It was random being like an issue number 5, but it gave us time to build up the main story and then go back and tell an origin story of the evil in this land, and I loved this entire thing. It was so cool. So issue number 5, really interesting issue, told us a lot. I loved it. What'd you guys think? All right, next from Image, we have G.I. Joe Real American Hero 303, just continuing to get those black and white covers because I think they're really cool. Now, again, this is a little bit of a blind spot, so I'm learning a little bit more about these characters and everything, but this issue was really cool because we have Serpenter Khan. He's actually a real big badass in here. He developed a method to mutate his entire army, but maintain their consciousness, so they were upgraded physically, and they're just like gross now, right? They're just like walking garbage pail kids, but they're super formidable, and they're about to plan this big attack on the mainland right now, but they didn't just stop there. They took it one step further and actually allied themselves with this other AI race, and they're trying to see if some kind of assimilation of their powers can generate something way more impressive than what they mutated into at this point. And of course, we have the G.I. Joe sitting on the back kind of monitoring this right now, just anticipating the worst, and it's going to be cool to see what happens there. Now, these creatures they end up developing, they want to put them on a test run, and they send them after some very interesting people, and you get to see that battle there. I'm not going to tell you who they send them after, but it was a gore fest for sure, and the results kind of speak for themselves. So if you're into G.I. Joe, this is a really cool book, I think. Larry Hama's doing some amazing stuff on here still, and I'm having a good time with it. Does it pair well with the Energon universe that Image is also doing? No, not yet, or if at all. I don't think it will, but it's a cool complementary thing, especially if you're a Joe fan. Like, why not? We should be reading this one, I think. So G.I. Joe, really cool, not set in the same continuity as like Transformers or Void Rivals or Duke or Cobra Commander, but still a cool book on its own. Check it out. Then speaking of the Energon universe, we have Cobra Commander issue number 1. Joshua Williamson is on this one, and man, this was such a cool book. When he announced he was doing a Cobra Commander book and it would be a horror book, and then we had some of the first pages of this book previewed in some of the other Image books, man, I fell for this completely. The second I saw it, I'm like, yes, we need a Cobra Commander horror book for sure. This is a cool book too, because again, this is a blind spot for me, G.I. Joe, but this tells us the origin story of Cobra Commander. And I thought it was really interesting. He's actually somebody that this society has brought in. They made him a scientist. They're living in this like ancient world. They're aware of Earth and the other dimension, I'll just call it, but they're living on their own right now. And they have their own scientists that are, just trying to keep their own civilization alive and being aware of what other people are doing. But he has other plans. He wants to ascend. He wants to learn more technology, utilize technology that he has found recently to his own benefit, and he has to prove himself to his superiors and in a pretty brutal way. And so now he's sent on this mission right now to recover more tech so he can do more interesting things, and then you know, their culture could be the ruling culture among all of them. So this is a really, really interesting book. I love this one so much. The art was incredible in here. I like the origin story. I totally fell for it. It fits right into the Transformers run. So if you're into that, if you're into Duke, if you're into Void Rivals, man, this is a super complimentary book. Definitely check this one out. And the last book we read this week was Petrol Head issue number 3. I think it caught up in issue number 2. I loved issue number 1, and so issue number 3 is out now, and we're going to be checking this one out. Rob Williams is on this one, and this is a really cool world. So the most intriguing thing about this, I think, is there's this cool culture they've developed, right? So they have these races in the inner city. These races are managed by AI, or there's actual drivers behind the wheel, or there's these robots specifically designed to race these cars for entertainment, almost like a Running Man kind of a thing. There are some beings that oversee the logistics of the race, and they can manipulate it based on betting and based on who they want to win or promote at that moment. So there's some cool dynamic there. And so there are some scientists, human scientists on the run. They team up with this Petrol Head right here, which is what we're calling him. And the whole place is trying to find them. And it's a big chase and hide issue. And I just love that one so much. We actually get introduced to another character that Petrol Head teamed up with in the past. And so now the enemy is getting very desperate. They have not been able to catch the scientists yet, and so they're sending out more and more resources to find them. And so Petrol Head has to team up with some old allies back in the racing days to, you know, continue hiding these humans for whatever cause. The art is really cool in this one. Of course, everything is fast-paced and all the colors are beautiful and everything. So they do a really good job of painting that whole scene, and the world is believable and it's really fun. So Petrol Head is issue number 3 out right now. You got plenty of time to catch up. Really cool book. I'd recommend it. So guys, that's everything I read this week. I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know down below in the comments what you read and what your favorite picks of the week were. While you're down there, like, subscribe, share, hit that bell notification to be alerted when I put out new videos. Thanks again for watching. See you in the comments.